Good morning, Pivsters. I hope you are having a very good day and happy Navaratri in advance. So, this particular video is being recorded as per the request of multiple channel subscribers regarding a short brief for our upcoming webinar cycle 3.0 named as PRAAYOG. So, here is a quick and short brief for what all is the vision and endeavor for each of our cycle. And if you might not know, we are conducting these webinar cycle on a yearly basis, which starts from September, basically in the month of September, and at every Ganesh Chaturthi. So basically, this is our third cycle, which is being commenced from 5th of October, and we are here to give you a short brief of what are those contents, what are the visions, what is the vision basically, what is the objective, what is the endeavor of this particular webinar cycle. So moving along, this is one such image which is present in the main PDF on the main channel, which you can refer through. But here we are about to talk of those five mentioned chapters, which you can basically see here: one, two, three, four, five. Right. So basically, the whole thing is divided into five chapters this time. Earlier, it was a live session of max 90 minutes, part one and part two. But now we have decided to go along extensively to help the market participant understand the market in a much simpler way, right from the start of constructing a particular, you can say, chart through a particular, you can say, method, and then moving forward to building up those step by step setup, and then all you can include like analysis, trend, momentum, strength, and all of that particular thing. So we will continue that whole thing in the later part of this particular video. So without wasting any time, let's switch on to the first chapter. So this chapter basically talks about price discovery, pivot extension, and custom ranges of price. So to give you a quick overview of what is going to happen in this particular segment, or let's say chapter one, which is on 5th of October 2024. So basically, here we will talk about the raw material which every every participant gets in this market. Now, who are the participants? The participants can be FIIs, DIIs, your prop desk, okay, and even the retails. So, and that raw material basically comes from one word, that is price. Now, taking this as our base concept, we start our particular, you can say, webinar cycles, considering a breakup of this particular price into various categories to firstly understand how a particular chart is being constructed. What I mean by chart is being constructed is how these basic candles work, what are the mechanism of these particular price point which is being received by every participants in unorganized or raw form, and it is then being processed in a very organized and matured way depending upon the software and tools available at every end of a market participant, right? So this was a standard, you can say, theory being used in part 1 and part 2, that is webinar cycle 1 and webinar cycle 2. But we have tried to include some much more advanced concepts of, you can say, price alongside your pivot extensions, which is mentioned here, and custom ranges of price. So basically, what I mean here is, for example, a stock travels from 100 to 150, right, and then to like let's say 120. Then from here it travels to like 175, then again 160, and then again let's say 200. So within this, how many cycle this particular stock has covered? If we just try to decode. So this is one, this is two, this is third, this is fourth, and this is fifth. So while this particular stock got 2x, right, or let's say doubled, 2x or doubled, or whatever you may call it, 1x, 2x. Okay, basically we say doubled. It has gone through five various cycles on a very common note. So here we will try to apply custom ranges for each and every cycle to understand firstly where we are positioned in the market. You cannot like come in the market suddenly and start to trade, invest, or you say just make random positions. You have to firstly understand at which point you are standing in the market currently, and from then on you can decide to invest in a proportionate amount, or you can start to trade alongside the market, so that you have a better understanding of how you are being placed. The common mistake which we have seen in these particular 2 years is people are not aware exactly where they are standing in the market. They just come, they just deploy their capital, and they think that everything is all right for the things to fly off. That is not the case, because it can work for you in the short term, but if you want to be a long term player in this particular market, that is, you have to work with a particular consistent setup, and we will explain what is actually a setup. Is it a traditional whereabout, or is it a myth which has to be busted? Okay, we will talk about this in the session briefly. So coming back to what we were speaking is, so as we speak of custom price ranges, this is something which is called as custom price range, and much more further we will deep down, or we will dig down into this while we have the session on 5th of October, because this video might get very long if we go to touch the basics of it. Pivot extension, so this is basically we are introducing pivot post pivot, but in a very simpler and basic manner. Okay, that concept is being derived from this particular, you can say, theory, but it is much defined in our way of analysis based on pivots and CPR. So I hope this thing is very clear in terms of what is gonna be here in the first chapter. So it's a plain intro, but after this you can determine any segment at any given point of time, and that will include each and everything step by step, and we will discuss basics of pivot first, then we will go on to talk about advanced pivots, and similarly for CPRs, right? So this is going to be the course of action in chapter 1 and much more. If I am missing out something, that would be like obviously included in the chapter 1, but right now what I can remember, or what I can just cover in a very short term or short period of time, I am just listing them down for you. So I hope this thing is very clear. Then coming back to chapter 2, this is very interesting in terms of the further progression. Like now you have a sorted data, sorted and advanced data, or let's say data points, in terms of what? In terms of pivots and CPR, right? Now, now we understand, for example, 6, 7, 8. So these are like 8 individual days. Now let's say you want to analyze a trend based on your custom formulations. For example, you might be a trader considering 3 days as a standard interval, three days as a standard interval. So now, first of all, you need to calculate data points, or pivot data points, or CPR data points for these custom 3-day ranges, and then you will analyze what trend they are into. They might be, this might be up, this might be up, this might be down, or let's say up, sideways, sideways. So every now and then you need to analyze the custom formulations according to what you are developing in the market. But when we talk about trend trajectory here, it talks about basically at a given point of time what is the, you can say, current trend of the particular stock or script. And this we will not go through any traditional way of patterns or something like that. It's purely based on price. Because what happens is, I will come to that in a bit. Talking about trend trails, these both are slightly connected but yet very different. How? Let me give you a quick example. For example, you have your daily pivots, weekly pivots, monthly pivots. In a let's say in a stock of Reliance. Now, what you can do is, for example, this is your daily CPR, this is your weekly CPR somewhere here, and somewhere here is your monthly CPR. So this thing looks very like shabby or difficult to understand. So what we will do in this particular cycle is we will break them down to a very simpler manner, to a point where you will realize that for a given problem or for a given set of problems, for example, the problem statement here is of trend. What is the trend? So it does not mean you have to just go and check out daily, weekly, monthly ke pivots, Cambrella points, this, that, previous high, low, close, and every sort of that damn things. We just need some specific points related to pivots and CPR, and that would exactly give us what is the trend. Very specific points. So this is what we are trying to include in this particular cycle. Similarly goes for like momentum. For momentum also we need a set of specific points similar to this. Similar goes for, you can say, direction and every sort of damn things. So we will break down that particular thing in this particular cycle so that it tells you what is exactly the trajectory, trend trails, and rule of 50. This is something very interesting and very important. I can bet on this K 99% of people might be seeing this day in, day out, but they would have not realized it. So it's better that I explain you things which you are able to grasp fast rather than me customizing it into my own ecosystem and then delivering that to you. So that is like what I've observed in this particular 2 years and basically last year cycle. And that is why I kept a basic tagline of this particular webinar cycle 3 as simpler yet impactful and delivery and of analysis. So you will see all these things when we go deeper down. Now I'm not talking about all those further subtopics into this particular, you can say, मेन टॉपिक्स. ठीक है, ये चैप्टर 2 के मेन टॉपिक्स है बट इनके सब टॉपिक्स भी है which I'm not trying to touch right now because of the video's length, but it is of much brief or much more deeper than what you have just seen here. This is just an overall view. After this, it will solve your problem of trend at any given point of time, and that can be MTF or singular as well. It will solve for the problem set of momentum, direction, everything, which is very simple yet very powerful, and to an extent which, if you practice and if you try to master it out, you can be indicator free, or at least you can be 75 to 80% indicator free, because there are some calculations which require time, like which require some additional complex, you can say, calculative measures. So for that, ready-made indicators are available, or our custom tools are available, which you can like readily use and reduce your time of analysis. Because in live market, it is all about execution. When the market is on, you only execute. When the market is off, you only analyze. Basic key mantra. If you implement this, you will automatically see the change. We exactly do the opposite. We analyze and execute when the market is on. That is very wrong. Very, very, very wrong. You cannot do that unless and until you are into some HTF trading, some like scalping or something like that. But that can also be planned out, very meticulously planned out, right? So we will talk about more upon this when we like start to deliver in the session as well. Talking about chapter 3, we talk about techno tuning, setting the new setup, stocks, and index shuffling. So basically, techno tuning is nothing, but tuning is what? Tuning can be related to your comfort zone. For example, there are group of one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 people. Like there is a group of 8 people, group of 8 people. Let's say, do you think everyone will like group of 8 unknown people? Let's say they come to a party, and let's say after the end of the party, two of these particular, let's say one, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These both come onto a common ground and exchange the closing statement as, my tuning is very much similar to person 1. Like fifth person might say, my tuning is very much similar to person 1. What does that mean? It means they were able to communicate better on a common ground, on a common concept, on a common, you can say, ideology. And that is what? Ultimately your comfort zone. So the thing here is to tune your particular setup to a point where you get to understand your analysis at your comfort level. And by that I mean we always work with a particular, you can say, ecosystem, and that is our USP. We are working with an ecosystem under which we will get to push new and new things, yet the base would be similar because that never changes. You can only build the base once, and then you can construct n number of floors you wish to, right? So that is the whole point here. But there has to be much more in this particular thing, very, very, very deep and vast, which we'll discuss when we get to this particular session as well. Setting the new setup. So we have included many, many new theories, new concepts, depending upon the last year's observation, execution, seeing people's input, feedback. So we have like included some new settings in the setup as well, where you get a particular bird view on one chart, and that is very, 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 very known fact for every participant who has been continuing with us for the last 2 years and this third year as well. So they might be having a very, very cool comfort zone with all these particular understanding. So basically we have included some extensions, add-ons to the ongoing tool, which you will see in the upcoming cycle very soon, right? So here we talk about stock and index shuffling. So this is nothing but a basic overview. What I try to like let everyone know, the new members. Basically, we work on a concept called EA setup. EA is nothing but enclosed auction setup, which is going to be refined in this particular cycle as well. So when I talk about this particular setup, this means we have a weekly list which gets generated at the at the end of the market on every Friday. For example, Friday ko the market closes at 3:30 p.m. At 3:31 p.m. you have a list, a weekly list, which tells you the stocks, sector, its ranges, area of operation, everything for the next week right in advance. Right in advance. So by Friday end, the market has completed 1 week at 3:30 p.m. But on 3:31 p.m., you are ready for the next week with all those stocks, all those ideas. You do not need to work for that. Which will also, this list will also get enhanced with some new features and everything, which we will talk about in the session briefly. So basically, mota moti आपका यही view है. I'm not going deep. It has much more to all these particular topics, but I'm just touching the basic points so that you understand what is the focus on the particular things. अभी इसमें बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. This includes the technical analysis part, under which you have different set of, you can say, concepts, very different sets of concept, mostly like 5 6 concept, like different indicators and all those being clubbed together, and with different conditions, different theories. Like आपने मैथ्स में देखा होगा ना, if this is this, then if this is something like this, then what is the answer to this? If this is something like that, what is the answer to that? तो हम पूरा एक theorem based approach रखेंगे, which is very practical and very logical in the market. So it is not going to be like something random out of the box. No, it will be within the whole ecosystem, but yet refined, so that you get to know. Like, for example, a stock is moving from a higher high to a lower low. So at least we will try to figure out if this is the last higher high for a shorter term, or if this is the last lower low for the shorter term. And this will all depend upon how we are progressing in a defined time frame, in a defined interval, and on the basis of what we have studied in chapter 1. So everything will be chapter 1 and chapter 2, everything will be interlinked within itself. A very, very interesting and a very, very logical approach. I vouch that you will love this particular thing once you complete this, right? And after this, you do not need anyone to like tell you what is the current scenario of a particular script. At least that I can do for a individual in this particular cycle. So moving on, chapter 4. Chapter 4 talks about, this time we are talking about fundamentals. Why? Because see, this is what I believe. I have I have transited from intraday to swing and position, and people might testify this who have been in my webinar cycle for the past 2 years. They have seen the transition. They have seen us evolve, grow, and develop according to the market conditions. And this is the need of the hour, or the highlight of this particular webinar. One of the highlight, because one surprise element is yet to be covered in this particular video. So stay tuned for that. So in fundamentals, there is a vast approach which I cannot like complete in this particular video, but I will quickly like sum it up for you. So fundamental flows. What does this particular thing tells you? Fundamental flows is something, very basic ratios, very basic uh, numbers which we use in a fundamental study, but we will talk about statistics. Ignore the spellings for now, please. Stats, okay? But in a very, very mathematical approach. Like how a particular, if I say you were a equity analyst, a fresher equity analyst, how would you analyze a particular stock if you were not given any framework? A very, very basic approach, but yet very powerful. Isme you can, for example, if let's say a X stock moves something like this. It was hovering in a particular range. Suddenly, some news comes, okay, but the stock is already like travel till year. The news comes, the stock goes like rocket. Stocks goes like rocket. This may be like 4x, 5x, 10x. This can just continue. So all those factors can be determined through some basic stats alongside confluence with your basic technical setups. Right? Talking about research setup. This is something which I will try to provide a framework where you can just think like how can an analyst on a very basic level can think, because this is very important. Sometimes technical fundamentals work where technicals like fail, because देखिए technicals में क्या होगा, एक particular range है. For example, a stock is on 100. In 3 years it is at let's say 170, and in next let's say 5 years, or let's say next 3 years, it is at let's say 510. Now what is the growth here? First 3 years it grew at 70. Next 3 years it grew at 200%. So the thing here to tell you is, जब आप इसको टेक्निकल के थ्रू देखोगे ना, तो आपकी जर्नी within this particular area can end year. But how to optimize it? That is what fundamental analysis does for you. Or let's say technicals will only tell you if there is a breakout. For example, ये आपका 170 है, ये आपका 100 है. सडनली ये 3 साल में हुआ था. यू सी दिस टाइमलाइन. अब ये 3 साल में आपको ये थोड़ी पता है कि 200% कब हुआ है ये. इट कैन बी विद इन 6 months, इट कैन बी इवन विद इन 3 months ऑल्सो. 2.5 साल कुछ नहीं किया, लास्ट के 6 महीना इट जस्ट शॉट अप. So that will only be visible when you see some breakouts or some pattern breakouts on technical analysis. But fundamental can tell you what the technical analysis is hiding from you. So we'll talk about that particular things in much more details. Statistical approach. This means basically what are the different set of data, especially in fundamental, to be used in different sectors. First, different stock के लिए different set of data होगा, as we spoke earlier in this particular video. Similarly, fundamentals के लिए भी different होता है. आपको कब क्या कैसे देखना है, that is a simple framework which we will talk about much in detail in this particular session as well. And last is sector sorting. अब आपको सेक्टर कैसे पता करना है कि दिस सेक्टर इज हैविंग सम फोकस और नॉट. व्हाट आर द गवर्नमेंट इवेंट्स, व्हाट पर्टिकुलर ग्लोबल इवेंट्स शुड यू फोकस ऑन. एक इकोनॉमी और उसका जीडीपी कैसे कोरिलेट कर रहे हैं, कंपनीज एंड ग्लोबल फैक्टर्स कैसे कोरिलेट करते हैं, एवरीथिंग विल टॉक अबाउट इन दिस पर्टिकुलर analysis, so that you have a better confluence with your technical analysis. And one thing is, fundamental studies allows you to think rationally and yet for a longer term, right? So what you can do is you can also plan. This is best for people who are job goers and do not have much time to deploy in trading. They can use all these particular factors, but please be make sure that you will have to put in time. This is not a magic wand which you can just hover around and say abracadabra and everything gets done. No, you will have to give time, at least like a quarter, because with that you will understand the dynamics of the market. हर दिन market same नहीं है. Every day market is different, so you need to understand that, right? And you can plan your, you can say, allotment of funds. You can study how cycle works, how a particular if that particular stock is coming into some high cyclical analysis, non-cyclical analysis, or you can say season based stock. ये सब के बारे में हम इसमें पढ़ेंगे, right? And the last thing is chapter 5, where we will run about momentum phases, stock directional winds, pivot market breadth. Momentum phases मतलब क्या हो गया आपका? Basically, it's that particular point of time where you see a momentum getting built up. उसके लिए हमारे पास वेरियस टूल्स है। उसमें से एक है आपका फंड फ्लक्स विच इज इजीली अवेलेबल। इसके बारे में हम एक्सटेंसिवली पढ़ेंगे अलोंग साइड आर पर्टिकुलर इकोसिस्टम विच कंटेन्स two or three methods which you can compare with flows, price, and everything which is needed to gauge out the momentums, so that you are well positioned for a upcoming momentum and a better, you can say, reward depending upon your risk, or lowering your risk, gearing up for further rewards. And we'll further dig down to like SME stocks and study how they are moving across SME main board, IPO, ये सब क्या होता है, कैसे stages होते हैं, and how you can diversify your portfolio into different momentum phases. You will be surprised to know ऐसे ऐसे instruments है जहाँ पे आप you will get like mind blown. Even I was mind blown, right? So I will try to cover this up and try to give you an exposure of what all is available in your basket which you are not seeing just by getting blindfolded by the returns of technical analysis. Sorry, intraday trading. उससे ऊपर उठ के सोचोगे you can not even imagine what kind of returns you can make. And not to forget, this thing is going to be a very crucial topic for chapter 5. It will open your eyes like you were there in dark for like several years. ठीक है. Stock directional winds. ऑब्वियसली आपके सेक्टर्स में टेलविंड्स होती है, हेडविंड्स होती हैं. आपकी बेसिक फैक्टर्स क्या इम्पैक्ट करते हैं. साइक्लिकल स्टॉक है तो क्या टेलविंड हेडविंड्स आएगी. एक बेसिकली सीजन सीजन स्टॉक है तो क्या होगा. एक एसेट हैवी कंपनी है तो क्या होगा. लायबिलिटी ज्यादा है तो क्या होगा. एवरीथिंग विल डिस्कस आउट इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सेगमेंट. एंड लास्ट इज पिवट मार्केट ब्रेथ. सो बेसिकली इसको हमने अपने पिवट स्टाइल में इंट्रोड्यूस किया है. पिवट मार्केट ब्रेथ विच कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर स्विंग, इंट्राडे. Basically intraday के लिए use होता है, but we will also use this for swing and other set of, you can say, purposes. And the surprise element now is we have two pending surprise elements. First is you might have heard of data reading, right? Data reading. Here you might see that data reading में you get that standard OI, volume, price. But here what we have done, we have combined all these and put across the study as into pivot and CPR, which now turns out as pivot data reading, under which you have a standard calculation, standard, you can say, application, and you need not worry for that. You will get a whole customized indicator for that, customized tool for that. And we will now make this work alongside all these particular fun flags and all those. I'm not trying to reveal that particular things now, but alongside the other setup as well, like a mini research house setup, right? So the last thing is the highlight for the particular thing is astronumero. See, this is a very left out topic in the stock market, but as and when I had the chance to interact with some of the people at a very higher positions, or someone at a very, or with a very rich experience of handling some big, you can say, domains or portfolios, they are very much into all this. You will be surprised to know FANG, the top companies in USA, are involved in this. Ambani's, Tata's, then you take n number of names and all those you will see are related to basically astronumero. So ये क्या होता है, कैसे होता है, हम क्या करेंगे, इसका एक डेमो तो हमने अपने पार्टिसिपेंट्स के साथ किया ही है इन वेबिनार साइकिल 2, बट 3 में एक्सटेंसिवली हम इस पे बात करेंगे. वी विल टच अपॉन दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक, एंड इफ पीपल गेट दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग राइट, और इफ दे think that this is adding a good confluence, we will keep a separate chapter for this, for sure. Because see, this is a Vedic science, Indian Vedic science, you being used worldwide, worldwide, right? So, for example, Tata had paid close to 70 lakhs to 1 crore for just a name change. For just changing the name, you can check or Google this out. You remember you had some set-top box named as Tata's I guess Tata Play, which was changed to Tata Sky, or it might be vice versa. I'm not remembering exactly now. Earlier it was Play, which was changed to Sky, or Sky was changed to Play. But this happened, or this transition. Even Facebook to Meta was for a reason. Even Twitter to X was for a reason. Even Google uses a secret, you can say, formula within its product. Even Apple uses a secretive formula for its product. And this is very common with all those big, even Ambanis. So we'll search out okay, what is happening in all these particular aspects. So just the additional info. Like, why not? It includes numbers, and numbers are everything in stock market. So we'll study upon this and touch upon this. So this was a basic intro, or you can say a short brief of what all we are going to cover. If I might have missed anything, put that everything and anything into this particular, you can say, bundle of short brief, and that might be available at your end or at your disposal during the uh, completion of this particular 5 chapters. So I hope things are very clear here, right? So, on that note, I hope this thing is very useful, and now you can make your judgment whether to join or not. No forcing, no, you can say buttering, no flattering. कुछ भी हमारा aim ऐसा नहीं है. We just have a vision that this particular cycle, after like 2 years of feedback and experience, we aim at creating something which will stay here till the market lasts. So अगर किसी को एक बेसिक एक रैशनल इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए लीविंग द मार्केट स्टीरियोटाइप्स ट्रेडिशनल way of approaching the market, we will try to make them see the market in a very different manner in which they understand, right? So I hope that thing is very very uh, cool with everyone, and we are focused at creating a community, because after a point your money, you can grow your money individually, but after a point your size becomes your enemy, and that's where you need a community. The earlier you start the habit of interacting or interacting or juggling up with communities, you will understand what is the difference between network and net worth. Most important is this, because this is the way you can increase your net worth. But unless and until you don't have cash in hand, all that paper money is just on paper. So all of that we'll talk about in this particular cycle. And I firmly believe that rather than hitting your stop losses in some other, you can say, concept, बिना समझे एक बार you can try this particular cycle. Again, I'm not like trying you to sway away. I'm just telling you ke give it a try, give it a try, and experience it yourself, right? So on that note, I hope these things are very clear, and every main details about the schedules of the chapters, payment details, everything is listed in the main PDF available on our main channel. And we will start the sessions from 5th October. So the last date for registration is 4th October, right? And we will close down on 4th. So use this particular information, inform your friends, family, near one, dear ones. The more people we have, the more brighter the community, or let's say our closing statement would be, we are not focused on the quantity, we are only focused on quality. because this quality will help you develop something new in your trading career, right? And that is the need of the hour, because market is going to shift from derivative to cash. And this is not a statement which is being made now. This is exactly what we have been shouting or yelling for the last 1 or more than 1 year, which can be testified with the participants of a cycle too. And they have seen that particular transition being there live. So I hope things are very clear now, and choose your things wisely, and hope to see you in the webinar on 5th October. Bye bye. Signing off. You're truly Pivot Minati. Bye bye.